Hey, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 118. 118.
118. One day, I shall come back.
Oh dear, we are in trouble, aren't we?
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
I have the advantage of being slightly ahead of you. Sometimes behind you, but normally ahead of you.
But the trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear. And it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
A meteor storm, and the sky above us was dancing with lights. Purple, green, brilliant yellow, yes!
I'm the doctor, by the way. What's your name?
Rose.
Nice to meet you, Rose.
Run for your life.
It's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Just remember who's standing in your way. Look at the eyebrows. These are attack eyebrows. You can take bottle tops off with these.
Howdy, howdy do, Who fans.
Howdy.
Howdy. Welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast, episode 118. Hope you've had a fantastic week and that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related. Whether that's watch a classic DVD or listen to a podcast or whatever. Read a book. There you go. It's a novel idea.
A good old-fashioned book.
Good old-fashioned book. Or drawn a picture. Should we do a Blue Peter thing? Send us in your pictures.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm bored at work, I do that. Just do the most random drawings, and they often end up looking like Doctor Who monsters that would look good on a Blue Peter wall.
Your little doodles.
Yeah, bug-eyed monsters. Yeah.
Obviously, you'll have to send a stamped addressed envelope. So that we can post said picture back to you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're joking, of course. We don't want to have to sit around posting pictures back.
No. Does anyone do that anymore? Does anyone send self-addressed envelopes like they did in the good old days?
In the good old days.
That is how I got my Blue Peter badge, by doing that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Actually, having said that, I didn't get a blue... I mean, that's very cool. I never did anything on Blue Peter. I wish I had now, because the Blue Peter badge is like a sign that you did something very cool.
What I did wasn't that... Yeah, I'd like to... I mean, I wish I could claim that was true, but what I actually did was for those of you that are of a certain age, you'll remember Mark Curry, who used to present Blue Peter, and they had a Lego man on there once, and he knocked it over, and I drew a picture of him knocking over the Lego man, and it was really bad. Trust me, it was a bad drawing, because I'm not good at drawing. And yeah, about 3 months later, just when I'd given up hope, a little badge dropped through the door. So that's how I got it.
Do you know what I was about to say? I like the time scale, because I didn't do anything with Blue Peter, but I remember when I was a wee lad, it must have been about 7 or 8, I got the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles comic.
Oh, yeah.
A few fortnights when they used to do them fortnightly on the bounce. And back when it was called Hero Turtles as well. And I sent in a picture. They had like this, every fortnight they did a 2-page spread of people's pictures. And I was like, I could do that. And I didn't hear anything for months. Sent it in, months and months went past. I even stopped reading the magazine or the comic, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I got this thing through the door. It was my picture sent back to me with a letter from the editor of the comic or whatever saying,
please do not send this filth in again.
Well, no. Basically, very, very nice drawing. Here's a free subscription to the comic for another X amount of months, and here's some stickers and some other bits and pieces. But when so much time goes past, you don't clock it as a kid. You just think, oh, why haven't I heard back immediately within 24 hours?
Yeah.
But you just don't grasp the concept of how popular things are. So with Blue Peter especially, they probably get hundreds of stuff sent to them, don't they?
Yeah, I'm just so pleased I've still got it, because most of the stuff from my youth, childhood, whatever, is long since got lost. But I managed to cling on to that badge. It's on the bag, as you've probably seen.
I was going to say, it's on the bag, isn't it?
It's on the bag.
The Geek's handbag.
My sister always claims it's hers because she also won one. And they arrived pretty much at the same time, but it's not. It's definitely mine. We always have this argument whenever she sees it that's my badge. And like, no, it's my badge, blah, blah, blah. Talking of waiting for things to arrive, did you order Power of the Daleks, the DVD? And have you got it?
I didn't order the DVD.
Oh, you didn't? You just bought it on BBC Store. Yeah.
Because I cancelled it and pre-ordered the Blu-ray.
Gotcha.
Have you not received your DVD yet then?
No, because I, like you, I pre-ordered it, and then when I went to the BFI screening, you got a DVD included in the ticket price, so I cancelled my order.
Oh, okay.
Because I was getting it with the ticket. And yeah, obviously over the weekend, people have been getting it slightly early, and it was released on Monday. So I was like, oh, my copy should be arriving soon, and it looks really good. It comes in a nice slip case, and very excited. I literally keep running out to the post box. Where is it then? Come on, BFI. Me being very impatient, waited till Tuesday, emailed them just saying, just wondering when we can expect to receive our DVDs that are included in the ticket price. And I got an email back the following day saying yes, should be with you within the next couple of weeks. We're hoping to get them to people in time for Christmas. And I was like, no!
Was it a slow motion? No, like a Darth Vader moment, was it?
You know how impatient I am. So, so hopefully mine will be with me by Christmas. So I'm a little bit gutted because it is, you know what it's like when you see other people have got it and you're like, oh, I just want it in my collection. Looks really good. Have you managed to watch any of it yet, though?
No.
No?
No.
None of it? Not even a single episode?
No, I haven't.
Is that because BBC Store keeps crashing and you can't get online?
Well, the spooky thing was on last week's show when we spoke about my problems with the BBC Store and stuff, literally within minutes of us stop recording and I got back to doing some work, within minutes I had an email through from whoever the support people are for it, saying, oh, it should be okay now. We just had, we've had a raft of technical issues recently and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But if you give it a go now, you should be okay. So I logged in, fine. Yay, all good. It's there. But I just haven't watched it yet.
Oh, fair enough.
So, the technical gremlins are sorted, but I just haven't had the time to sit because I'm one of these, I'm weird sometimes with stuff like that. There are some people like my wife, she can put a film on knowing that she's only going to watch half an hour of it. So it's not like we say, right, let's sit down and watch a film. Half an hour goes by and the phone goes and she has to go and do something or something like that. She will sit there knowing that we have to go out in half an hour, 40 minutes, and she'll just watch a bit of a film.
Oh.
You know, she's happy to just watch it and then maybe the following evening she'll watch the rest or whatever. But I can't do that. So now I know that I've got all the episodes there. I want to sit and watch them all.
Oh, I'm with you.
Do you know what I mean? I can't. I don't want to sit there and think, right, I'm going to watch episode 1. I'm not sure when episode 2 is going to come. Will it be tomorrow? Will it be the weekend? I'm not sure. I just want to sit there in my own little bubble, my little Doctor Who bubble, and watch them all. So, yeah, I know that might sound strange to some people, but yes. So I'm going to find some time this weekend.
Yeah, I think you're right to do that. I think because I haven't watched it all now, I think I was quite like that. When the episode ended, I did immediately want to go on to the next one. And I think each episode actually gets better, considering it's a 6-parter. I like the first 3 episodes a lot, but I really, really enjoyed the last 3, especially the last episode. So, sometimes they lag a bit if they're a 6-parter. In some ways, it just seemed to get better and better each episode. So, yeah, I think you will need to watch them. Maybe 3 and 3 or possibly all 6 in one go. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a good shout on my part, just to defer the viewing for a few days.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Good plan.
Yeah.
We're recording this on Wednesday, the 23rd of November. It is the 23rd.
It is.
I just need to check because we're all over the shop. I wish I could if I had a longer arm, I'd reach to my piano so that we could sing Happy Birthday to a certain program, but I can't quite reach the keys.
Well, you haven't thought about this very well, have you?
No,
you could have brought it over before we started recording so that it was there ready.
It's very heavy. I probably would have moved the table. That'd be a lot easier. But no, we're not going to sing them, are we? We're not going to subject our listeners to our singing, surely.
Well,
Gary can.
They haven't heard us go full belt on a song yet.
No, that's why I felt we might need some backing.
Yes, that would be a disaster if we started singing. So, but yeah, 53 years old.
53 years since the junkyard, the TARDIS landed in the junkyard. Well, actually, no, it'd probably been there a while, but since Ian and Barbara discovered the TARDIS in the junkyard, let's put it that way.
Yes.
So quite a momentous episard.
Absolutely, and discovered a very grumpy old man.
Yes, especially if you watch the pilot, he's even more grumpy. I love Hartnell in the pilot. He's so vicious.
He is
brilliant.
Proper grumpy old so-and-so.
He is, yeah. So 53 years ago today, Doctor Who started.
But that's what we love about Hartnell. Is that old grumpiness now and then, that just get out of my way.
That's it. And I want to see Peter be a bit more like that, because I don't want him to try and copy Hartnell, but I think Peter would be good as that type of slightly tetchy Doctor. You know, get a bit more on that tetchiness back.
Yeah.
Because it is funny, isn't it? When you watch a Hartnell episode, he's so watchable, isn't he?
He's great.
Just that tetchy old, yeah. I'm trying to think what the one is we reviewed recently, and then I watched the following episode to see what it was like when he discovered the companions in the TARDIS. I can't think what it was. Just because he goes mad. He's like, "What are you doing in the ship?" "Yes, ship," and all this. He's like going absolutely mad at them.
Is it the one after the Romans? Because
yes, it is. Yeah,
in the Romans, he's very comical and laid back and very,
He's having a bit of fun.
He's on
holiday, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, and then the next one, the story after that, I think that's the one where you said he goes back to being very tetchy and yeah, sure, yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's that one. But he's always good fun. So he kick-started it all. William Hartnell. For 53 years, happy birthday, Doctor Who.
Do you know what's great is on Twitter this morning, and we've had a few mentions for the Big Blue Box account and retweets and so on, is the amount of people who have said, thank you for Doctor Who. Thank you, because we've made so many friends. And a few that stick in my mind is people saying, our friend Martin Badwilf said, his tweet said, thank you, Doctor Who, but also thank you, Russell T Davies, because we grew up in the wilderness years.
Yeah.
And since 2005, we've made loads of friends. And I've seen loads of tweets saying similar things this morning. So that is really good. I love that about our fandom. You know, the Doctor Who fans mainly.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true, mate. Yeah, that echoes a bit what I was saying to you before we kicked off recording, actually, because I went to the 10th Planet event last weekend, and it was great to meet the people that were there. Like Tom Baker was there, Carol Ann Ford, William Russell, really, really nice guys. And that was all good, but obviously, you know, it's so brief. You just meet them, hello, get an auto, a photo, whatever, move on. Mm-hmm. The real thing, and I'm not just saying this because the event was fun, but what made the event was meeting up with the other guys that I've got to know through Doctor Who. So like a lot of our listeners that we often mention, like Adam the Ultimate Whovian, you know, Cousins 2019, Gallifrey 97 Forever, you know, these people that always comment, and also a chap that I chat to a lot called Charlie Turner.
Charlie.
You know, I chat to him a lot, but I've never met him, but he was at the event. So, you know, it's just amazing how it brings... It does bring people together. There is something, I think, quite unique about the Doctor Who sort of community. There seems to be a sort of, I don't know, there just seems to be a good buzz whenever you're around that particular group of fans, if you like. You know, lots of cosplayers, obviously, which is always fun, but there is a friendliness most of the time anyway, between the fans. Yeah,
absolutely, mate. And you and I have said this a few times at conventions that you and I have been to together, where, especially the festival that was on, you know, the official Doctor Who festival. And
festival. Yeah.
And we said, both you and I said exactly the same thing, almost word for word after the next day. Whereas the festival was good, but what made it an amazing day was meeting up with, you know, our friends and other Doctor Who fans and other cosplayers, podcasters, YouTube, you know, all those, the whole community is just, it's great. And you and I have met through as a result of liking Doctor Who. None of this Blake 7 rubbish.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I don't know many Blake 7 fans. I think that's why I always try and chat to you about it. You don't want to. You just don't want to know. Well, I keep trying to force you, a bit like my other half. I keep trying to force him to get into it because I don't know many Blake 7 fans. It does. That's what I mean. It's very unique with Doctor Who. It does have a big appeal.
Oh, massive! Yeah,
but it does have a way of bringing people together, if you like. But no, in all honesty, that is true. I think when we go to these events, and stuff. It's great just to meet people and chat about all the geeky stuff there is to chat about with Doctor Who. Yeah,
it has a wide appeal because we've made friends in America, Canada, France, Australia. America, just all over the place. Chat to different. It's really cool. It's about a bit cliched and everything, but it's one of the best things about doing something public like a YouTube channel or a podcast is being able to, chat to people and get their thoughts on things. And it's great. I love it. I just love it. I love it.
And it is good to have a slightly different opinion as well. Like I was when we I'm going to give something away. I was going to say when we get onto the class review later, I was chatting to a few of the guys about class at the event as well because I've seen quite a lot of positive tweets going on there. So I was sort of saying, do you really like it, or are you just because I'm struggling with it? So there was a good bit of chatter, class chatter as well, But we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that in a second.
But that is the good thing about fandom is to have a good old natter about difference of opinions on things. It's like episodes, isn't it? Some people will love a Doctor Who episode, like Time and the Rani, and others won't.
Indeed. Which is what makes it good. We can't all be the same, otherwise it'd be really boring.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right. Before we move on to the news, you've been up to anything else? You've only been to the one event this week, have you?
Just the one. Yeah, just the one event. I think that'll be it. I think that's it now, though, because we'll be getting into December, and I don't think there'll be any more this year. So yeah, I went to my last event of the year, as far as I'm aware. It was good. It was a good day. It was very busy. Yes, it was good. But honestly, the best part of it for me was meeting the fans because there were things about the event which I was a little bit not disappointed, but I felt was a little bit like the photos on the table that weren't particularly great, and and the prices were very high this time, stuff like that. So the event was good for what it was, but the best part of the day was meeting all the listeners and friends and stuff. So yeah, I had a good time at that. Haven't really been up to much else, mate. No, I watched the Children in Need clip online when I got back. They previewed. I thought it was going to be a trailer, but it was actually a scene from the episode rather than a trailer. So, which was fine, but it seemed sort of out of context because it starts with Capaldi with some chopsticks. So I was immediately thinking, what's going on? In terms of what I thought of the clip, it was kind of exactly what I was expecting, if you know what I mean.
Right.
I take it you've seen it.
I've seen it a few times now, yeah. Yep.
Yes. So this is a preview clip from the return of Dr. Mysterio, the Christmas special. It's about, 2 minutes?
2 or 3 minutes long, yeah, no longer than that. Yep.
Yeah. Nothing really happens in it, does it? Mysterio turns up, smashes through a window. I think there's a bit of there's some humour. I can't really remember, to be honest. We didn't
Nardole,
glean a lot about it. It's Nardole's in it. We didn't really glean much about what the episode from it, I wouldn't say.
No, I thought it was quite cool, actually.
Did you?
Yeah, I thought it was a good... I'm not sure if that's a reflection on what the entire story is going to be like, but it did have I think the music as well, like a nice kind of adventure-y, Christmassy feel to it as well, the music.
I must admit, as you've mentioned the music, that's the one thing I did stick in my head, is that it was that same bit of music, though. It was like the 12th Doctor's, was it? I can't remember. I remember thinking, I'm sure I heard something that I was just like, still using that bit of music.
Oh, okay.
I might be wrong. As I said, I've only watched it once, so I probably should go back and give it another watch, but yeah. I
thought it was okay. Nardole, I don't know, he provides a bit of humour in there. He's quite funny. I do quite like
Nardole.
Yeah. What's the actor?
I like his coat.
What's his name?
Matt Lucas.
Matt Lucas, sorry. His name escaped me. I like Matt Lucas. I think he's very funny. I'm just not sure how Nardole's going to fit in to this story. I'm not sure. He's quite funny, but yeah, it gives us a little bit more to go on, I guess.
Did it whet your appetite for it? I mean, I'm starting to feel slightly more Christmassy now.
It did a little bit, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that I've seen a scene moving along, and we've got this. I don't know if he's a Russian or he's some kind of Eastern European gangster type guy. He's pointing a gun at the Doctor and so on, and then the superhero guy turns up, and I'm interested.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's good. I mean, as I said, it was kind of what I was expecting. I didn't think it was great. Didn't think it was awful. I just like, yeah, it's all right. Yeah. I mean, I am. You know.
You're like, yeah, that'll do. That'll do for a weeknight.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Just before we move on, actually, there was something we realised we didn't cover last week, so we could probably just quickly do it now. Was all this rumour about Capaldi and Pearl leaving at the end of Series 10 and a clean slate for Chibnall and stuff? What do you reckon?
No.
No?
No.
No, you don't want to see it, or no, you don't believe it?
Wow.
Or both?
A bit of both. I don't think that will happen because, unless they're going to do one of the shortest companion runs that we've seen.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to see it. I think, crikey, we're going back a few shows now. Maybe, earlier on in the year when we were talking about the whole Moffat leave-in and would Capaldi leave at the end and regenerate and we'll have a new Doctor when Chibbers takes over. And I remember saying it would be great to change it up slightly where Capaldi does start Series 11 but regenerates quite quickly into the series. So maybe he only does 1 or 2 episodes and then just to do something different. Yeah,
I would love to see that. I'll tell you because, I think it'd make a nice change. You know, the last sort of few episodes since we've reviewed where there's been a regeneration, they have been a bit odd. Like we did when we did Colin's first story, and we did Attack of the Cybermen the other week, which was the first during his run, but his actual regeneration story came at the end of Peter's run, bizarrely, and stuff like that. So I think it would make for an interesting change, and I just wonder if I might be ready for a new Doctor by 2018 is what I'm thinking. As much as I like Capaldi, although I don't like the way he's going at the minute, but as much as I like Capaldi, I just keep thinking, well, maybe I'll be ready for a new Doctor by then. You know, I'll have another series of Capaldi. You know, it'll be sort of 2 years, whatever, a year and a half. So maybe by then I will be ready for a new Doctor. So I'm actually a bit in the middle on this one. I don't want to see Capaldi go, but I've got to think ahead to a year and a half in front, thinking, well, yeah, maybe I will want a new Doctor. And I know I know you're going to disagree with this, but Eddie Redmayne was chatting on the radio the other day and just said he would love to be the Doctor. Yeah, I would. I can already. Gary's just throwing his head back. I knew you'd disagree with me. I really like Eddie Redmayne, and I think he'd be great as the Doctor. But, and here's the but, he would just remind me too much of Matt Smith, because he's sort of that geeky, floppy-haired, quite young. So I wouldn't actually want it to happen, but I do think, given the right time, he'd make a fantastic Doctor. But I wouldn't, it wouldn't work at this particular time. Yeah.
Crikey. Eddie Redmayne. I think he'd be a really good Doctor. But as soon as... I think he put something out in an interview recently, didn't he? Saying that he'd love to be Doctor.
Yeah, it's on the radio.
Yeah. When I saw that, I immediately thought, yeah, he would be a great Doctor. And then immediately after that I thought, no, he's too similar to Matt Smith.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's got that quirky, geeky thing going on. He's too, I think they're too similar. Unless he portrays the character in a different way. But I think he would be great. And I think Capaldi will stay on. I honestly think he'll stay on for at least Series 11, the first series with Chibbers, before we see him go, I think.
If he's going to go, I'd love to see him do what you just said. I'd love to see him do like half a series with Chibbers. If he decides he wants to leave, I think just to mix things up a bit, I think that'd be really interesting. But whether it'll happen, I don't know.
Who knows?
We'll see.
Right. Shall we whittle through some news?
Yes, I think we should. Land the TARDIS, buddy.
First up is something that you and I spoke about because we heard rumblings of this a couple of months back, where we heard about a classic Who writer was going to come through to the new stuff. I think the Moth teased it at one of the US conventions, and said that a classic writer was going to come back for Series 10. So we know who that is now. And you and I were both wrong. So there's no surprise there.
Who did we say? Yeah, I think we were like Ben Aronovich.
I was Ben, and you said... Who did you say? Can't remember. Yeah, but we were both wrong. But that should come to no surprise to anyone. So the classic writer is Rona Monroe.
Yes.
Who wrote the actually very good script of Survival. The last story in the classic era.
Yes.
So when he said a classic writer is coming back, she's just about a classic writer because she's like right at the very end. But I quite like this. I think this is good.
I do as well. Yeah, I'm very pleased. So, yeah, I think when we reviewed Survival, we said, it was a really good story. Perhaps it didn't quite translate on screen, but it was a cracking story. And I think Rona Monroe's gone on to become quite acclaimed, I think. She's gone on to do quite good things. Yeah, very happy that she's back for the new series. I think that's great. Yeah. And also very pleased that Jamie Mathieson is coming back as well, because... I really, although I didn't like the episodes from Series 9, which what were they called? The girl who fell asleep and the woman who took a breath or something. I can't remember those. I wasn't very impressed with whichever one of those he co-wrote with the Moth. But I really did like his stories in Series 8, Mummy on the Orient Express and Flatline. I thought were actually two of the best stories from that series. So yeah, very, very pleased that these are coming back. In fact, I'm very excited because I haven't been overexcited about Series 10, but I certainly am excited to see these two back. Yeah.
Yes, I concur. Good stuff. And yeah, I think just to echo your thoughts there, Survival is a great story on paper. But yeah, some of the things in the story, in the production itself, were a bit but still, it's not a bad watch. But yeah, so that's that.
I still like you, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
If
we fight like animals, we die like animals. Yeah. So it's all good news. So yeah, very good news from that. Okay, in other news, Big Finish has been nominated for a Radio Drama Award, which is very exciting. There's been 3 audios nominated, which is Absent Friends, which was the first part of the 8th Doctor play Doom Coalition in Doom Coalition 3, Death and the Queen, which was the 3rd story in the 10th Doctor range, and Torchwood, More Than This. So those are the 3 that have been nominated. I've heard 2 of those. I haven't heard the Torchwood one. Absent Friends is quite good. Death and the Queen I enjoyed, but a bit of a strange choice because it's a bit it's a very easy listen. I wouldn't say it's anything outstanding, so I'm a little bit surprised at that. What about you? I mean, Torchwood I haven't heard, so I can't say. But
yes, I've only heard Death and the Queen out of those 3.
Yeah.
So I would like to have seen one of the older Doctor stories in there because there've been some cracking older stories in there. A couple of the Tom Baker stories have been really good from his monthly range.
Oh yeah,
and a couple of the McCoy ones as well. So I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, they did win. They won this back in 2014. What did they win? It was for Dark Eyes.
Oh, Dark Eyes, which is very good actually. That's the first Dark Eyes. I think they did 3 or maybe 4. Actually, it was 4. First Dark Eyes was a really good set. So yeah,
right. Yeah, I mean that was. I haven't heard it. I still need to.
It's very good, the first one. It kind of lost its way a little in the 2nd and 3rd sets, but yeah, Dark Eyes 1's an excellent set. But yeah, good nominations. They are up against another cracking release though, which isn't by Big Finish, which is the Baker's End release from Bafflegab. What was it called? The Cat's Cradle, is it? Oh, I forget now. Let's have a look.
Right, yeah, you really liked that play, didn't you?
It did, yeah. What's it called? Bafflegab. It's got a subcategory like the Cat's Cradle.
Baker's End, the King of Cats.
That's it. The King of Cats is a great fun release. Yeah, so it's up against that. So all happy to see any of those win actually, even the one I haven't heard, Torchwood. But yeah, it's going to be announced. They're having a bit of a bit of a ceremony. Of January, hosted by Lenny Henry, and that's when they'll be announcing the finalists. So yeah, good luck to Big Finish, and also good luck to Bafflegab because they're all very good, to be fair.
Indeed. Good luck.
Yeah. Good luck.
Right. Shall we let those Daleks in? They're desperate to come in.
Go on. Get them in.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Right. Those guys over at Lavazzi. You will know the name Lavazzi if you've ever purchased one of the official Tom Baker scarves or the Fifth Doctor cricket jumpers or anything like that. These guys, they do a really good range of official Doctor Who stuff. And they've literally just brought out one of their scarves. It's a really nice light sort of looking scarf, and it's a Dalek pattern, which apparently only these guys have got the license to use, which is cool. And they're giving away 5 of these, and it's to celebrate the release of The Power of the Daleks. And it is super easy to enter the competition. All you need to do is head over to have they got it on their homepage for Lavazzi? If you head over to the Lavazzi homepage, which is just lavazzi.co.uk, on their homepage there it says win a brand new scarf. So click here, and then all you've got to do is put your name, email address in, and answer the question: who plays the Doctor's companion, Ben Jackson? Is it Michael Grays, Arthur Darvill, or Fraser Hines? So you just need to pop your answer there, your name, address, email address, and you'll be entered into the draw. And they've got 5 of them to give away, and they look really cool. Their
stuff's lovely. I really like the Lavazzi stuff. Yeah, so that's well worth entering.
Absolutely, and they've done.
I may pop my answer in now.
You're doing now, yeah. And they've also had this really cool infographic made for Power of the Daleks as well, which goes through history of the story, a load of facts, a breakdown of some of the scenes, and a bit of the script and so on. It looks really nice. So it's all fair play to those guys for creating a bit of buzz around the release of this and so on. But yeah, win yourself a Dalek pattern Doctor Who scarf. So head over to lavazzi.co.uk and you'll see a link there to enter the competition.
Yeah, lovely. You don't even need a self-addressed envelope either, just all online. Okay, in other merch news, this is very cool actually. So there's been a new comprehensive guide to the novelizations of the broadcast.
Yeah.
And it's it's based on the popular BBC television serial, it says on the front, compiled and edited by Paul Smith. And the best thing about this is it's free. Because I was reading the little blurb about this, and it basically goes into detail, of all the sort of novelizations for the TV series. It gives you all the breakdown of the covers, when they released, the reissues, the audio readings, everything you can sort of think of. I thought, that's good. It'd be nice to have that. But it's actually a free PDF. So you just download the PDF, you get all the info on there. And the reason they've done that is so that they can regularly update it. So it'll be like an ongoing thing, because obviously we've got the Pirate Planet's just coming out. So that's already on there. They've already got some of the details for that. But as it gets brought out in other formats or any sort of news they've got on it, they'll add that to it. So it's really good. You just need to go to www.wonderfulbook.co.uk to download the free PDF of this. Nice cover as well. It's got like a television set with the Pertwee beginning, like the Pertwee intro graphic on it, which is just very simple but really nice. I quite like that. So yeah, really nice little free thing.
It really, and you can't do better than free. Let's be honest.
You can't do better than free.
And just to confirm, the title of the book is called based on the popular BBC television serial. That's what the book's called. And one thing,
it's not the most popular title, but
one thing that is good though is, like you said, it will be updated and so on. So if you're thinking about getting into the novelizations and all that stuff, this is a good place to start. This will list everything, all the books in order, or most of the books in order, and you can sort of dive in and see which ones you want to pick up, which is good.
Yeah, no, it's a really good little thing. Yeah.
Indeed. Right, I think we should talk about Class for a little bit.
I suppose we better add.
Yes, it's episode 6 called something like Detained, is it?
Detained, yeah.
Detained, yes. Here we go.
Guys, stop it! Is this who we are now? Just endless angry truths, the worst things we think about each other. He's got into our heads enough to start us fighting. And this room is obviously only going to make us angrier and angrier.
That's not a bad explanation.
I know! You think you know me? You think I'm this pampered prince? You want confessions? I'll give you confessions.
Ooh, the prince getting in a right tizzy.
Right, episode 6, Detained, where we see all of our main cast trapped in a space prison, i.e. a classroom, where this meteorite thing is like a traveling prison, if you like, and it's coming through the rift, and then it explodes, and then a fragment of it, and it locks them into their own prison. And I think the idea behind it is they have to confess in order to, because each one of them is trapped. Each one of them has to confess something to them to draw out, this sort of horrible, nasty prisoner person who is currently in this jail with them virtually, I think.
Yeah.
And yes. Can you, do you want to go first on this one?
Not really.
Okay, I'll go. Go on.
Go on, you go first.
So this, to me, I felt was very much drawn. I think a big inspiration for this story was the episode Midnight.
Yes.
The David Tennant
yes,
series.
it was all the way through it. I was trying to think, this reminds me of something. What is this like? And it wasn't until somebody mentioned it on Sunday. I was like, yes, that's it.
Okay.
Midnight. Yep. Yeah, so I agree with you. Yeah.
Yes, it's essentially a bunch of people in a room, and it doesn't rely on locations or special effects or anything. It's just a bunch of people in a room, and it's down to their acting skills to keep us entertained and drawn to the story and so on. And for me, they are worlds apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really like Midnight. It's one of my favourite episodes. Is it series 4? It is, isn't it?
It's Donna, so it must be. Yeah. Yes, yeah.
It's one of my favourite episodes of series 4.
It's a cracking episode.
It's so good. And now, in some ways, it's not a fair comparison, because if you look at the caliber of acting talent, when some of the actors who are in Midnight. Not just David Tennant, but some of the other people, they are experienced, actors. I mean, David Tennant, what can you say, So these are relatively new actors, not as experienced and so on. So it's not a 100% true comparison. It's not really fair to go up, 1-to-1. However, I like some of the other episodes previously with Class, I just find myself drifting off every time.
Yeah. It was so boring again.
Yeah,
I was bored to death.
And you
all
and
the
I,
way through it.
We probably sound like broken records about this. Well, people are probably thinking, "Oh, come on, guys, you've got to check." But it's just, we're not going to lie to you guys and be like, "Yeah, it's great," and then when we finish recording, we're like, "Well, that was crap."
Yeah,
we're not going to do that. And it's the same thing for me. A few minutes in, I think to myself, this could be cool. This could be a good episode. But then 20 minutes in, I'm checking Twitter and I'm looking on Instagram and I'm writing tweets to people and replying on Facebook and stuff like that. And then I look up and nothing's happened. And I go back to my phone, and then a couple of minutes, it's not doing it. I'm really sorry. It's just not doing it.
No, I absolutely concur. I was bored. I really didn't enjoy it. It was 45 minutes of bad acting, lots of shouting, a really paper-thin plot with a rubbish conclusion. And do you know what? You just said about, the listeners thinking, come on, guys. I honestly nearly texted you after watching this and said, should we stop reviewing them? Because I just don't want to bore our listeners week after week with me rambling on about how rubbish I think it is, because I know there are people out there enjoying it. I know Loopy Lou, one of our listeners, tweeted to say how much she enjoyed it, but I've got to agree with you, mate. I was sat there thinking, I'm so glad there's only 2 episodes left, and God, do I hope that there's something in there that I can enjoy, because I don't want to come on here and moan every week about how rubbish I think it is. But it was dreadful. I was just so bored throughout, and I thought the acting was poor. I know they're new actors. I know we've got to give them a bit of slack and all that, but yeah, it's not doing it for me. I just want to say this: if we weren't reviewing it for the podcast, and if it didn't have any connection to Doctor Who, I would not be watching this series. I would have given up after this. Well, I probably would have given up after the episode 4, to be honest. I wouldn't be watching it if this didn't have any connection to Doctor Who, because I'm just not enjoying it at all so far. And I don't even like the characters anymore. I mean, I quite liked them to begin with. Episode 1, I was like, yeah, these are a kooky little group of guys. But now they're just becoming bratty, selfish, unlikable. They don't even like each other. So I've lost heart with the series big time. And I don't know if the next 2 episodes are going to change, but right now I'm pretty much done with it. I'm literally only watching it because it's got a Doctor Who connection and because we're reviewing them. And I apologise for listeners that enjoy it, that are probably sat there thinking, "Shut up, stop moaning," because I don't want to do that, which is why I thought maybe I should just stop reviewing them. But that's how I feel. I didn't enjoy it at all.
No, I'm with you, mate. I'm totally with you on that one. It's if it wasn't connected to Who, and we hadn't started the train going along the tracks of doing these reviews, I probably wouldn't be watching it now. I'd have given up after episode 3 for me. Right,
because we weren't sure whether we were going to review it to begin with, were we? And then we both found things in episode 1 that were enough to make us think, we should get on board with this series. But I'm sort of, I don't regret it now, but I feel for our listeners is all, because me and you can have a good old moan off air and we don't have to subject other people to it. But I am regretting sort of the series so far. I just don't think it's what I was expecting somehow, and I'm just not enjoying it.
I read you, man. And it felt like they were trying very hard to do something minimal and just do the whole acting thing, which is fine. That's fine. And there were little pockets of it where I thought, this could go somewhere, this could be good. But we're just going over things that they've already done in the last couple of episodes, like the relationship between Charlie and Matthias.
His accent, man. Did they push him to the? Pushed him to the limit this week. He had quite a bit of dialogue. He had to really keep that accent going this week. Yes. Do you know what? Despite the dodgy accent, he's about one of the few characters I even have the remotest bit of likability factor for me. He's the only one that I'm thinking, he's all right, and he's obviously going to be the one that gets it in the final or whatever. Mm-hmm. But he's the only one. But the accent just is putting me off. But the rest of them, I mean, they're just becoming horrible, aren't they? They're not even likable anymore.
Well, I think that is I think that is part of the story a little bit. I think the story was designed to create that environment where they were turning on each other because this meteorite thing sort of created this atmosphere of anger and all that stuff. So I think that was partly by design for them to be like that with each other. And the whole truth thing, when they're holding a bit of meteorite, they have to tell the truth. It's a truthful thing. So I think it was part of design, but the overall thing that we've said the last 5 weeks now, it's just boring. That's the only thing. It's I could, sometimes you can put up with, a dodgy script or, not a great story and so on. And we've said it lots of times about some of the episodes we've reviewed where the story's not been that great or the script's not that great, but wow, Matt Smith has just carried it and made it enjoyable. Or Tom Baker's just made it a cracking story, even if the script wasn't that great. So it's not, you can't even say that, because the acting skills are not quite, they're not quite there. And also for me, I feel like this would have been a great opportunity. It would never happen, but if this wasn't made by the BBC, I think this could have been better as well.
Mm.
And the reason why I say that is it just feels like they haven't, stretched their wings far enough to create this immersive universe, because every single episode we're going back into Coal Hill Academy, whatever it is now, and it's just, I think you said this right at the beginning when we started reviewing them, how are they going to mix it up? How are they going to keep us interested? Because otherwise it's always going to be every week we're back at Coal Hill. Oh, something else is coming through the rift.
Yeah.
And it's just going to repeat itself over and over and over again. So, and I think by the BBC slashing the budgets and putting it online only and all that, it just hasn't done it any favours.
I'm wondering how they can sustain that, because if this somehow manages to get another series, I just cannot see how they can sustain that same format week after week, because this one starts with the crack opening and something coming through. It's like, oh god, it's just been done now. I'm really bored of the format. I'm done with the show. I'll be honest with you. I'm so glad there's only 2 episodes left. I'm really hoping there is something in there that I can find to be positive about next week. I really just want there to be something. Like you said, even sometimes when an episode is not up to scratch in your opinion, you can find a little nugget in there or a nice scene or something you liked about it. Mm-hmm. And I haven't found that at all the last couple of weeks. So please let there be something good in the last 2 episodes. It looks like it's very much focused around Miss Quill next week. And thankfully, she is one of the only characters that I'm remotely invested in. I think she's quite interesting, probably because the rest is so bad, but I actually do quite like Miss Quill. So I am really hoping that next week I will have something positive to say, because I'm really done with it, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I was going to say that next week, and it's got quite a long title, next week's one, The Metaphysical Engine, or What Quill Did. That looks like it could be a good one.
I hope so.
It looks like that could be the one out of the series that could show the potential. And if they go on to make a second series, maybe we'll hopefully see more of that we're going to see next week.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. What are you going to score it?
I'll give this one a 3.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with you. 3.
3.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's class. Let's move on.
Let's
get away from it.
Let's move on. Let's go and see some walking potatoes.
Yay!
Right. What are we doing this week, buddy?
Okay, so this week it's Tom Baker. I wish I could get my voice deep enough. Story, The Sontaran Experiment.
Steyr! Still about your butcher's ways, Steyr?
You! But I killed you!
Another mistake, Steyr. You've fallen right into our trap.
Trap?
Yes. Those people you've been so cleverly evaluating are not Earth warriors. They're our slave class, the lowest form of human intelligence.
You lie!
Do you think those puny creatures could conquer half a galaxy? No, Steyr. I represent the true warrior class. Evaluate me if you dare. Ah. Is that the Sontaran way? The mighty warrior sheltering behind his gun. I challenge you, Steyr. Single combat. Or are you afraid?
Afraid? A Sontaran afraid?
Loving the Colin Baker style reply there.
Yeah, yes, double. Afraid? Yeah, that's more like it.
There we go. Right, the Sontaran Experiment. This was broadcast in 1975. Went out in Feb, 22nd of Feb, and then part 2 was the 1st of March. Wow. So this is a strange little 2-parter.
Yeah, it is.
In the midst of a whole series of 4- and 6-parters. And it was written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin and directed by Rodney Bennett, overseen by Mr. Hinchcliffe and Mr. Holmes, actually. Robert Holmes was a script editor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is the hardest team of the 4th Doctor with Sarah Jane and Harry Sullivan.
Nice team.
Yes, and it follows, it's sandwiched between 2 cracking stories.
It is. I think this might be why it sometimes gets a bit lost and forgotten, because it is sandwiched between two big old bookends, isn't it? Yeah, two classics.
Yeah. So it's almost, well, it is a direct follow-on from the Ark in Space, because they mention the space station that they're on, and which is the Nerva space station. So the Ark in Space, that story happens on the Nerva, and they teleport down to the planet below, don't they? Using the transmat, which some of the humans left on the planet are not fans of. They don't travel by a transmat. No. It's unreliable.
Yeah.
And when they, so once they've teleported down to the planet, they find that, well, they're expecting to find nothing at all on Earth, aren't they? Because Earth has been uninhabitable since the solar flares.
Yeah, so they've had to evacuate to Nerva and all these different places because of solar flares or something. Yeah, so Earth is barren.
Yes. But they do find some humans running around. There are some knocking about still, and they're in hiding essentially from this horrible alien, which we don't get to see until a bit further on.
Yeah,
which happens to be a Centauran, as the name would suggest, Styre. And so he's the whole sort of idea for the story is that the Centaurans are planning to attack the planet, which, when you look back at it in hindsight, is a bit ridiculous, really, because there's no one there. So it doesn't need much of plan. It doesn't need much planning, really. But anyway, Styre's there, and he has to run through a series of experiments, so that the Centaurans can then tweak their battle plan to make the most of their enemies' weaknesses. So Styre has been experimenting on these humans, and is reporting back to the Centauran fleet, and they're ready to attack. But as always, the Doctor is there to thwart the plan.
Yes,
and that's essentially it. Right. So, what do you reckon, dude? Centauran experiment.
It is a little bit of a filler episode, but I still found it quite enjoyable to watch. So I did like it. Yeah, it's a very simple story, isn't it? But I found it very watchable. Not the best. I can see why it gets lost, as I said, between the Ark in Space and Genesis of Daleks, two cracking stories, which is probably why I haven't watched this since the DVD came out, because I watched it when I bought it and I haven't watched it since. But I really enjoyed rewatching it. Yeah, not the best, but just a very easy watch, I thought. Overall pretty good.
Yeah, I pretty much think the same. You can tell that it's a little bit filler, and I think the reason for that is because Mr. Hinchcliffe decided, because originally this was meant to be a 6-parter. So the Ark in Space was meant to be 6 parts, with the final 2 being this story. And that was, I don't know why, but he decided to split them up and do the Ark in Space as a 4-parter, and this is a little 2-parter. So it's a bit of it's a crazy little story if when you think about it in relation to the other stories in this series. It is a little bit jarring as well, because the Ark in Space is all studio.
Yeah,
everything is filmed inside a studio. There's no location, and then most of Genesis of the Daleks is inside, bar a few quarries, but the majority of it is inside. This one, there's no studio at all. It's all location, isn't it?
Yeah,
the entire thing. So it does kind of, and this would only apply if you're watching, series 12 all the way through from start to finish. If you're doing a giant marathon, it would be a bit jarring, because you're thinking, wow, the audio sounds different. Everything's different. All their hair's being blown around. Tom Baker looks a bit different. But it is a bit of a crazy episode.
Also, it is a bit jarring because, like I said, I haven't watched this for a while. I haven't watched Ark for quite a long time, and I haven't watched Genesis for quite a long time either. So there's 3 stories in a row that do connect that I haven't watched for a long time. So jumping into this one in the middle, I did at first find it a bit jarring, because I couldn't quite remember what was going on, because there isn't any real explanation, is there? They land, they start repairing the transmat, but there's no TARDIS, they're teleporting. So I had to sort of go back and remind myself, what was happening in terms of the sort of first 5 minutes of the story. So in that sense as well, it is a little bit jarring. Because I think if you were a new viewer, if you just bought this story and you hadn't seen the other two, you might wonder what on earth's going on. Like, why are they teleporting? What are they repairing? Why are they doing that? Yeah. So I had to go back and remind myself what happened in the Ark of Space to sort of get the full benefit of this story, if you like. But not a big thing, but I think if you were just watching this as a standalone story, it starts off of sort of almost feels like you're starting on episode 2, if you know what I mean. You sort of feel like you're missing something at the start.
It's definitely worth watching these all together. Even if you don't watch them all in one sitting, it's worth over a few days or a weekend sticking these on. Because they are linked quite nicely. There isn't this huge Stephen Moffat style arc that's going on where it's all sort of intertwined. All it does is just link the beginning and ends.
Yeah,
which is quite cool. Yeah. So at the end of Ark in Space, they think, well, their plan is to teleport down to Earth to repair something, isn't it? They need to repair something on Earth.
And then transmat or something.
Yeah, and that's when they get caught up in this whole Centauran thing. And then at the end of this one, when they teleport, they think they're going to teleport back to the Nerva ship. They get picked up by the Time Lords, don't they?
That's right.
And
yes.
Then he gets told that he has to go and effectively stop Davros creating the Daleks. So when we say they're all linked together, it's not this horrible Matt Smith, Stephen Moffat, let's link every bloody thing into everything else and all that lot. It's quite a nice, they're isolated stories, but just at the very end and the beginning of each one, that's how they get from where they were into this story, if that makes sense.
Yeah. They link very nicely. Like you said, you don't have to watch them all together, but if you do, it is a very nice little link, because then we get, is it Revenge of the Cybermen after Genesis when they go back to Nerva? Because that sort of brings things full circle, I think. Yeah, it's so long since I've watched this series, and this really made me want to go back. I think because I know Genesis of Daleks so well, I have seen it a lot of times, just not for a long time. But yeah, watching this has really made followed by Revenge of Simon, really made me want to go back and watch this whole series. Like you said, in order. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, because at the end of Genesis of the Daleks, they use the time ring. And they think that they're going back to Nerva. They're going back to the Nerva station, which they do, but the TARDIS is missing. And then we kick off onto another story. So all it does is just transfer the characters from one location to the next to carry on that story. So it's really, you've got to have a lot of respect for people like Robert Holmes and Philip Hinchcliffe for sort of orchestrating this really nice flow of stories throughout the series, where it's not overcomplicating things. You don't have to think, oh, Christ, do I have to watch like 9 hours worth of Classic Who to get what's going on? So that's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
And right, so the stories are not big, because it's a two-parter and they're only 25 minutes long. They can't sit around and ponder things too much. They've got to get on with it, which is nice in a way. Excuse me. And the story itself is dead simple, which is kind of cool for Classic Who, because it's explained quite early on as well. Sort of towards the end of the first episode, we see Steyr, the Centauran,
emerge from his golf ball.
And you immediately think, right, okay, it's a Centauran. And then after that, in episode 2, we find out that he has to do these experiments, and his buddies are up ready to attack. And that's it. That is the crux of the matter. It's all about stopping him from completing these experiments, because otherwise there's going to be a Centauran invasion. So it's good to just follow along something relatively simple. There is an intertwining. There's not
the links.
Yeah, and in some Classic Who, it's quite often a case where the cast will split up. So the Doctor and someone will go off, and you won't see him again for 2 episodes, while this companion or so-and-so are off doing that. And then 2 or 3 episodes later, they'll come back together and so on. In this one, they do that, but it's not as drawn out. So Harry goes off, and Sarah Jane, she goes off,
Harry.
And she gets captured, and Harry falls down a big hill. And Sarah Jane gets captured, the Doctor rescues her. So I found it a really nice watch.
Yeah.
Because it's only
I did as well.
Yeah, it's only an hour, or just under an hour. It's like 50 minutes. Or some really cool.
And I was going to say, I love the link. You talk about links. I love the fact that Sarah Jane recognises the Sontaran. It's a lovely throwback to her first episode, isn't it? Where she's like, Lynx, although it's not Lynx, it's Steyr. And I love the fact he's so, forcefully corrects. He's like, I am not. You may have seen one of us. He's sort of like. It's funny because I often think that Dan Starkey sometimes goes over the top as. What's his Sontaran called? I've forgotten. Strax.
Yeah.
But actually, watching this, he's managed to incorporate a lot of the features. Actually, I was thinking, maybe I need to give Dan a break because actually he's got a lot of this spot on. The way perhaps he does go a bit more over the top than the chap playing Steyr does. But yeah, he's definitely got that sort of humorous but still taking himself very seriously style that the Sontarans have. I thought,
Yeah, I thought that as well. I thought that, especially in the way that he talks as Strax, he picks up these little, very... the Sontarans, they always... Well, Steyr and Strax, anyway, they always talk like they're on that edge of losing it.
Yes, that's right.
They're kind of keeping it under control, but they're always infuriated by sort of inferior dialogue that they have to partake in. They just want to get on with it. So they're always on that cusp of like, I'm going to lose it any second if you don't do what I say. And he has that really... there were some scenes where some of the sentences that Steyr says, you can tell that Dan Starkey would have watched that. Because the way that he delivers certain lines, it sounds so similar. And
I'm not sure now, but I think he might call them human scum at some point. I'm not sure. Does Steyr say something like that? There was definitely bits where he was coming out with lines. I thought, I thought the same thing. I thought, Dan Starkey's clearly watched this. I think he might say human scum in this. Something like that. He definitely something that I thought has been picked up and used in the new series. I thought that's quite nice.
He might have done
the only thing, the only thing I would say though is that the mask on Steyr is unfortunately nowhere near as good as it was on Lynx in the Time Warrior. It just looks a bit rubbery, whereas I think in the Time Warrior it actually did look like very organic, definitely a lot dirtier. It didn't look so flimsy, and it was definitely patched up better around the eyes. It's not a big thing. I mean, I don't mind it at all. It's just it's strange to think that a production that was some years before managed to do that better, because the masking is the Time Warrior, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, looks really, really good, I think. And it's the same actor as well, isn't it, playing the Sontaran? It's the same guy,
Kevin Lindsay.
Yeah. It still works. It still looks good. It's just when he first takes the helmet off, it definitely doesn't have quite the same effect as it did in the Time Warrior, unfortunately, due to the mask. But it's mainly the eye bit. They just didn't quite get it right in this one.
Well, that's interesting because it's exactly the same costume.
Yeah, but a different mask.
From the Time Warrior. It's exactly, everything's the same. It's just that the mask has perished a bit.
Yeah, probably ended up like it does at the end of this episode.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, because that was another one of Philip Hinchcliffe's things was that they didn't at first they didn't know what alien they were going to have as this alien on Earth, and he said, "Well, we've already got a Sontaran costume in the lockup. Let's just use it. We don't have to spend any money. We don't have to spend any money sourcing another costume or building one or whatever." Let's just use the Sontaran costume we've got hanging up back there.
Oh, right.
So it's the same costume and everything. It's just been not well looked after, as everything, in classic Who. It just gets
dusted down,
thrown onto the back of something, and then just gets left there in the cold and the rain and whatever. So, but yes, Sontaran. What do you reckon to Sontarans? Because there's always been a big thing around Sontarans, especially in recent years, with the appearance of Strax, where people have complained that the threat of Sontarans has been diluted a lot because Strax is now just this sidekick guy. And but what do you think? What do you think the classic Sontarans are like? I think they're quite ruthless and a little bit. I quite like them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they have definitely, like a lot of things, unfortunately, like the Cybermen and the Daleks, I do think they have been diluted in the new series when you go back and watch the classics like this. Because, yeah, I love the classic series Sontarans, and I think that's really why I enjoyed this one, because what did you say the actor's name was? Kevin Lindsay, playing Steyr. He also plays the Marshal. So there's at one scene where he's technically talking to himself, playing two parts, which I thought was fantastic. That must have been really fun to film. But it's good because you definitely get the difference in character between the Marshal being I'm in control here, and Steyr very much wanting to complete his mission and being like the pupil or whatever. So no, I really like the classic series Sontarans. They, like I said, they managed to have a bit of humor to them, which is in some ways unintentional because their characteristics are very bombastic and full of themselves. Like you said, they're just plowing on, doing what they want to do, and they're not interested in anything else. So, but they still manage to become across as quite ruthless. Like you said, when they're crushing that poor man's chest, Steyr, he's not interested. He doesn't care that it's that guy's dying. He just needs that information for his mission. So
Precisely.
They are ruthless, but they are also unintentionally quite funny as well.
They are.
But they've I think they've ramped that up to a bit too much to 11 in the new series. I think they have lost a bit of their. I don't find the new series Sontaran scary at all, actually, thinking about it.
No, I think they've injected. There was one story that wasn't great at all. I think it was called the Sontaran Stratagen.
Yes, that
was a Tennant story, where that American whiz kid got,
Yeah.
I think that was the one. And that they just didn't seem to have any, there was no foreboding at all in that story. And I do like Strax. I think he's a great character and he's very funny and he does fit into the whole Paternoster thing. I really enjoy, one of the Big Finish plays that he did with Jago and Lightfoot.
Oh, yeah.
Really good story, and it was really great. But for me, the classic Sontarans, that's where it's at, because they haven't the prime directive, and I don't mean from a Sontaran perspective, I mean from the writers and the producers of the show. Their main thing was to have a threatening force, and the Sontarans do that really well. It's a bit like the classic Cybermen. They do that really well for the most part, but in the newer series, you just don't feel that threat as much, and
Absolutely, yeah, I agree with you.
So for me, I love the classic Sontarans, and I like Steyr, although he's an evil so and so, and he's ready just to kill because he's killed people. We see the guy chained up, and that was experiment number 4, I think it was. He was basically starving him, fluid deprivation. That was it. Experiment number 5, fluid. So he had killed him off without even thinking about it. He's just walked, and when he's reporting back to the Marshal, he's just explaining how weak humans are. They're reliant on fluids and all. Yeah, and you just think, wow, this is cruel. This is real hard.
It's like that bit with Sarah Jane, isn't it, where he subjects her to the fear test.
That's right,
or whatever it is. That's all very bizarre, isn't it? Do you know what I've got to say? For 1970s Who, that snake is not bad.
No,
because her ropes around her arms turned into a snake at one point. Did you? I bet you were laughing.
I was cracking up.
Oh, I didn't think that's too bad for 70s Who.
I thought the rice pudding around her ankles was good.
Unlimited rice pudding.
Unlimited rice pudding, yes.
What's the other thing that happens? There's that. There's the
she looks up at the boulders that she thinks are going to fall on top of her,
Yeah. And all the while Steyer's just like taking it all in.
Yeah.
Making a few notes. Yeah. That's where Tom Baker, that scene where he saves Sarah Jane, that's where Tom Baker fell over and broke his collarbone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was rushed off to hospital, and you can tell actually for a lot of part 2. I mean, Terry Walsh doubles for him a lot because of it, because he had to have his arm in a sling, didn't he? And I think there is one scene where he's talking to Harry, and he's sort of using his scarf as a sling if you look carefully. I think Tom. It's about halfway through episode 2. They're sort of sat, and you can just see that Tom's got his arm wrapped up in his long scarf in a sling. So he was in quite a lot of pain. I think for a lot of the filming of this, or halfway through, he's got a bit too energetic because he was quite new. I mean, this is very, very. This is Tom's first series, so I think he was going for it. and just got a bit too
carried away.
Went flying, apparently, down the Dartmoor cliffs. Poor old Tom.
Well, let's talk about a location, actually, because they resisted the urge to do it all in a quarry.
Yeah, location looks lovely, actually. Dartmoor, isn't it? It's great.
And it's very... I thought it was a great location. Really added to the sort of the atmosphere of the story. But there was a couple of times where it sort of went against them a little bit. And there was one scene where I fell about laughing. I had to pause it.
Yeah.
I had to grab my remote control, pause the DVD, and just compose myself. Because there was one scene where the guy is chained up. The fluid experiment. Was he chained up or was it Sarah Jane? I think it was the guy. And Steyer, the way that scene starts is Steyer is up this steep hill. It's a very thin, almost like a corridor between these two massive rock faces. And he starts up on the hill. And the way that he's coming down down in between the rocks and so on, there's at least twice where he almost loses his footing. So he's coming down, and you can tell that just by his body language.
See a thing out of that mask.
Well, yeah, you can tell by his body language. He's thinking, if I lose it here, if I misstep, I'm a goner, because I'm not at the bottom yet. And it's just how he sort of, his body's twisting around and his leg sort of jars down at one bit, and then he comes down. And when he gets to the bottom, because the Centauran's face doesn't move, there's no facial expression other than his little eyes that you can't really see. He sort of walks up all proud, with his little device.
Like he's made it.
Yeah, and in my head I was thinking, I wonder if there was any outtakes to this. I wonder if he fell. I wonder if there was a moment where he just tumbled down like a roly-poly all the way to the bottom.
But he could have so been in the next hospital bed with Baker, couldn't he? Can you imagine?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of climbing going on. Even before Tom busted his collarbone, you see him climbing up various massive rocks, and pretty much the whole cast would have been told, be careful, because you're going to be jumping over big boulders and rocks, and you'll be climbing up. And there's a couple of scenes where the stunt double falls down quite steep, sort of these really steep hills, isn't it, into like little gullies at the bottom. Because Harry, he loses it, doesn't he?
Harry does.
He goes down.
Yeah, he goes tumbling, doesn't it? Yeah.
And then the doctor, bless him, he goes down as well.
Yeah.
In fact, the doctor falls over a lot or gets shot or something in this, doesn't he? There's a bit where Steyer shoots him and he just falls face first onto a big rock. And then when Harry finds him, he's just laying face down, motionless on top of this big rock.
Yeah. Oh, so, they definitely went through it back then, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. So location, I think it really helped the story in a way. It was it's really nice to just be not confined to a studio.
It's a lovely location. I don't know if I can buy it because it's supposed to be like, I don't know, I mean, you can take it that the doctor's joking or whatever, but he sort of says, I think Trafalgar Square would have been over there or something. I don't quite buy it as being derelict London. I think if they'd had more budget, I think they say in the making of that they would have loved to have had like a broken piece of Nelson's column just sticking up over the green or something. They say in the making of, but they didn't have the budget for it. They sort of envisaged like Planet of the Apes, having something like that, like the
Statue of Liberty on the beach. Yeah,
that's what they would have loved, just to give the impression that this is actually would have once been London. But yeah, I don't quite buy that, but I can totally overlook it because it does make for a really nice location. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some cast. What do you reckon to the astronauts, stroke soldiery, human people that are knocking about down there?
On the whole, they're all right, I think. Not too bad.
A lot of rolling of R's.
Yeah,
from a lot of them.
I didn't notice, actually. Did you notice? Is it? Yeah. No.
Yeah, a lot of rolling of the R's. Not quite McCoy status, but a lot of rolling of R's, I noticed.
Okay, I shall have to look out for the next time. Yeah, I didn't pick up on that.
But they were... they were okay.
Well, one of them's Terry Walsh, the stuntman, isn't it? The guy who often doubles for Tom Baker. He played Zake.
Yeah.
But who's the main guy? I think he might be the one you were talking about. So got the longer hair. I don't know what his name was. That won't surprise listeners, will it? But he was quite good. There is one scene where he's shouting at the Doctor, and I swear he's trying so hard not to laugh. I get the impression that him and Baker were probably having a right old laugh in the rehearsals. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, right, come on, guys, let's get this take in the can. Because you can just, when you can see it in an actor's eyes, he's just looking at Baker and he's really trying to be serious. Like, right, who are you? What are you, Nerva, what? And all this. And you can just see that he's just really holding back. I can imagine as soon as they called cut, he'd probably burst out laughing. But he's quite good, whatever that guy's name is.
Yeah, I think that guy, the character name was Viral. Or Viral.
Down, but I didn't. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah,
they were.
But
okay,
overall, they're all okay. I mean, Roth goes a bit over the top. I think he's the one that's gone a bit doolally, isn't he? Roth. He's a little bit pantomime, but again, he's not bad by any means. No.
Yeah, he goes a bit loopy, doesn't he? Guess he's getting chased by the giant metallic thing.
Oh dear. Yeah. Now this is probably the one bad thing in the episode. Would you say? This robot, it's the one thing that as soon as it wobbles on screen,
it's not.
It's the design of it, really, isn't it?
It's just it's one of those examples in classic Who where it just screams no budget.
Yeah, it looks bad.
Yeah, so it's like this shiny is it aluminium? It's like a shiny aluminium made sort of diamond-headed thing that looks like it's got really long nose hair, and these like little aerials and stuff like that. And they've done a little bit of work.
Looks like it's got two horns to go meep, meep on the top, doesn't it? It's got like two, one either side.
Yeah, they've done some decent work to it because it's got some sort of electronic hinges and stuff. So like each side of it can move up and down, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm wondering actually whether it was even needed because anyone that's seen The Empire Strikes Back, it's the equivalent of the little probe droid that we see on Hoth at the beginning. It's that kind of thing where it's sort of just knocking about, monitoring, seeing what's going on, looking out for prisoners and so on. And I'm just wondering whether it was even needed in the story. The only time that it was really relevant was to understand why Roth was legging away all the time, because every time he sees this robot, he's off. He's like half a marathon towards the other side of wherever. And the Doctor dispatches it really easily, doesn't he?
Good old Sonic,
the old Sonic, yeah. So it was all right. It's just, what can you do with hardly any money?
It didn't need it. You're absolutely right. The story didn't need it. It wouldn't have looked out of place in a 60s Who. I think if you saw that in black and white, that creation, you'd be like, it'd probably look quite iconic. But when you see it in all its colourful technique, in the 70s colour, and it does look pretty cheap, and the way it just rolls along on wheels as well. It's a shame actually, but it is what it is. It adds a nice bit of nostalgia to the episode, I suppose. You sort of think, oh, it's quite funny when he's running away from it because it does look so ridiculous. But it's probably the one bad thing in the story, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's, and it's not in it hardly at all. And like you said, it gets taken out very easily. It's quite funny when the Doctor uses the Sonic on it, and it just kind of sort of deflates a bit, doesn't it? Just sort of gives up, creases up. Yeah.
One side just limps down and sort of head tilts over a bit like a sad little puppy, and then it's
and that's it.
Let's talk about Mr. Sontaran then, Steyr / the Marshal, Kevin Lindsay. Really, really good. I thought really good performance as Steyr, and a really funny end to his character as well. You just said that the robot thing sort of deflates. Steyr's head literally does deflate like a balloon.
It does.
At the end, doesn't it? It looks like a pie that's not risen in the oven properly, and you take it out too early and it just sinks in the dish.
Yeah. So it's like a Yorkshire pudding in it that's just deflated. It's a shame because they do a similar thing in the Two Doctors, don't they? But they add a load of gunge and gore, and it looks horrific. Whereas in this, it literally just deflates. Yeah,
you almost want to add in there. like the balloon sort of.
Yeah, poor old Steyer. Even though he's horrible, you still feel sorry for him, don't you? Like, you know, you got to love Steyer. But you said about the actor, yeah, Kevin Lindsay. He does a great job. Because if you think about how he acted as Lynx in The Time Warrior, Lynx was very much in command, stronger.
Yes,
you know, very more forceful, I would say. Whereas Steyer, like you said, he's just trying to get his experiments done. You know, he's not that sort of in charge leader type, which is why it's great when we get to see the same actor playing the Marshal. Because then we get a different Sontaran, but the same actor. And yeah, I really like the fact he played all three, and I think he does a good job playing them differently. So it's a bit weird, actually. He's almost played like a bit of a mini Sontaran fleet, just that one guy.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I thought.
Yeah, he does a great job. He does a really good job, I think.
Absolutely. I thought he gave a great performance considering that he was in costume without being able to see that much, out on location, having to do various things. Because there is a fight scene with him and the Doctor, isn't there? Where the Doctor's plan is to challenge him in combat because he knows that as a Sontaran he can't refuse. That's like the honourable, the Sontarans see it as the honourable thing he can't refuse. So they do have a little tear-up, don't they?
They do, yeah. And
that must have been difficult for him to do in that costume.
I think it might be a stunt double, but even so, it would have been very difficult because the vision would have been so limited. The reason I say that is because, again, the making of, they said that Kevin Lindsay had a heart condition at this point and found the costume really, really restricting. They had to be very careful with him. Apparently, because of this condition, they were really aware of it, and his limitations, because the suit was quite uncomfortable. And so so I think they might have switched him for Terry Walsh would have been the Doctor in those scenes. I'm not sure who would it have been. Trying to think who the other stunt guys were back then, but it would have been a stunt guy, I think, because they talk about the fact that he had to stay up the top of that location for the whole day because of his heart condition. He couldn't keep sort of going back and forth down the hill to have his lunch break like the rest. So he would literally sit on top of the rock and have his on his own in the lunch break. And he said, it's quite funny because someone would walk past walking their dog and he'd just be sat there eating a sandwich dressed as a Sontaran. And, a great performance from him. And I don't know who the stuntman would have been in those scenes, but he would have had a tough job on his hands fighting in that costume. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Sarah Jane and Harry.
Jane, I love Sarah Jane and Harry myself. I think they're a great little team. I always think we get more stories with Harry than we do. I always think he's in a lot more, but I like them together. I think there's a nice, I like the three of them together. I think there are nice little bits of humour between them. Harry's very sort of, I wouldn't say he's posh. Is he posh? What would you say? He's I don't know. He's just a likeable character, I think, Harry. You sort of almost want to mother him a bit. He just seems to bumble. He always seems to be falling over, bless him and stuff. But I love Ian Marter as Harry. And Sarah Jane, obviously, is one of the best Doctor Who companions, in my opinion. So together, I think they work really nicely, Yeah,
not much more to say on that, mate. I think they work really well together. You can tell that they have a bit of a laugh now and then, like some of the comments, stop calling me old thing.
Oh, yeah. Old thing, that's it, yeah. Come on, old thing.
Yeah. And Harry, I like him. He's not afraid to get stuck in.
Yes.
But at the same time, he isn't like a Jamie, let's have a fight every episode.
No.
He's a bit more refined, a bit more of a gentleman, but he's a
gentleman, yeah.
He's still not afraid to get his hands dirty. I think overall the TARDIS seems really good. And then Mr. Baker, he was different in this one to me. I'm not sure why.
He is.
Do you find that?
I do. It's one of the things I was going to say to you as well, because I don't know why either. I mean, it is very early on in Tom's era. It's his first series. I don't know where it was filmed in terms of production, but it would have been one of the first stories he filmed as the Doctor. So clearly he's finding his feet. He's getting into the role and trying to decide what he's going to do. He's great in it. He's still the fourth Doctor, absolutely. But there is something, you can tell he's not quite the same Fourth Doctor that we get, later on. I mean, I think even in Genesis, he's sort of more the Fourth Doctor that we sort of got to know. But he's still great in it. I still love Tom in this. But I do know what you mean. There is just something, I don't know if it's in the eyes and the performance, maybe a bit more toned down. I'm not sure. But he's not quite the rounded Fourth Doctor character yet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Understandably, yeah.
But he's still
great though.
Brilliant as the Doctor. You can't really fault him for most of his performances from this series onwards. But yeah, just something, I'm not sure. Maybe just because the one before was all very nice in a studio and controlled and all that, whereas out on location you haven't got as much. It's not a controlled environment as such, and you have to just get through it, because if you don't get all your scenes done, you start losing daylight and everything. So different vibe.
He doesn't quite seem the sort of forceful Doctor in this, if you know what I mean. Like, I think where we get to see the more the Doctor that we're most familiar with is when he's talking to the Marshal at the end, and he's like saying, "Sorry, Marshal," and that's very much the Doctor. But up until that point, like when he's being held captive and all that, he's not quite the in control, very sort of almost cocky Doctor that the Fourth Doctor can sometimes be. He's a little bit sort of he's not commanding the scenes as much as he sometimes does. But we get to see that, as I said, later on when he's sort of becoming the hero, defeating the robot, defeating Steyr, and then just tells Marshall, "Game's up, pal." And that's very much the Fourth Doctor. So yeah, but Tom's great. I just love Tom.
He is great. It's cool. Right. Anything you want to mention before we put our scores on paper?
No, mate. I think we've covered it pretty much. Yeah.
Right. I think it's me to go first.
I think so.
So I am going to give this one a 7.5.
Oh, okay. I'm going with a 7. 7? 7, yeah. I thought it does feel a little bit filler. It's a very light story, but a very enjoyable watch. I enjoyed it. So 7 out of 10 for me.
I agree. I think it is a bit filler, but I think it's a really enjoyable watch. You don't have to think too hard about it. You don't have to concentrate too much. But on the same token, you don't reach for your phone and start looking at stuff because you just want to keep watching. So yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I honestly didn't reach my phone at all during this, which is very unusual for me. So yeah, definitely.
Good stuff. Right, let's see what our lovely listeners thought. We had an audio clip in this week. This is from Owen Daly.
Hi guys, hope you're both well and enjoying the show this week. So the Sontaran Experiment, wow, you got 2 stories in a row that I love. I love dinosaurs in a spaceship, but I love Sontaran Experiment even more. This story is how I define it, short and sweet. It's short enough to keep my attention in that I can watch it in full sitting, but also it includes so many great story aspects, like it has that Sontaran star, Ian Marshall, Elizabeth Sladen and Tom Baker together. Tom Baker even broke his collarbone in this story, but he powered on, which is another remarkable thing about the script. It's all shot in location, which is kind of rare for the classic series, and it's got this really, really great eerie atmosphere in the rocks. And we also have the colonists, the Galsec colonists, and the fact that I remember what their names are, well, the Galsec colony I think is amazing in itself, because any other colony in Doctor Who I just forget immediately. I also love the little funny robot. It's a bit pathetic, but I still think it's great. And I just love it overall, how self-contained it is. And it's a great one to get new series fans into, because if they're not, to find like a 6-parter a bit daunting. This one's 2-parter. It's the same length as an ordinary new series story, except it's a lot better. I love the way Steyr was kind of torturing the humans to get a strategic strategy ready. And I really like that, and it's something the new series failed to do with the Sontarans making them a joke. So overall, really love the story. 8.5 out of 10. My first second classic DVD, so I've watched it to bits and I can watch it again and again. 8 out of 10. Thanks, bye.
8 out of 10.
Brilliant, yeah, thanks for that.
Good score. Over on Twitter, Ollie Everett says, one of my favourites. Great little 2-parter.
My favourites.
Joey Tardis says, my first ever Doctor Who story. All the way back in 2004. Such a classic from my childhood.
Hello, Joey Tardis. That's who I met with on Sunday. We had a good day. We met Tom as well. Tom.
Thank you, Joey. Over on Facebook, Stan Stacey Gallagher says, love Tom. I like this story. Wish it had more parts, though. Wish it had more parts.
I don't know. Could you see it being a 4-parter? I think it's quite nice as a 2, but yeah, I could have seen perhaps one or two more episodes of Steyer, maybe. Yeah.
Steyer, yeah. Charlie Turner says, Sontar says, this one is all right. It's probably the weakest Sontaran story I've seen. I have yet to watch The Invasion of Time and The Two Doctors before I can decide for definite. Tom's great. Elizabeth's a bit screamy, but good as always. Ian's great as Harry. It's just pure awesome, but the story as a whole is an all right watch. There's not really much I can say about it. Oh, and going off topic off here, this Sunday just gone, I bumped into Adam at our... Yes. Yeah. He gives it a 5.5.
Yeah, it was great to see you, Charlie. Thanks for your thoughts.
Cheers, Charlie. George Coppen, a lovely little story you can watch when you don't fancy a big story. I love Sarah and Harry, 7.5. Sammy Satine says, so the fourth Doctor, Sarah Jane and Harry, get transmitted to Earth only to encounter a group of men in spacesuits being chased by a robot called a Sontaran. Yeah, it's a great little story. The Sontaran is good, certainly a lot taller than the new series ones. The fact that Sarah Jane has seen a Sontaran before certainly helps. See The Time Warrior, her first story with the third Doctor for more. The Sontaran is very evil and I like how he is defeated. Harry is good, Sarah is good. Always nice to see her yellow raincoat. Tom is great as Scarf Man or the fourth Doctor. Overall, 7 out of 10.
Another 7, yeah, it's good.
Lewis Palmer says, yeah, this one is good. It's quite nice to watch when you don't want to spend half a day watching a classic. I think that Sontaran's experiment is creepy. I think that the Sontaran's experiments were creepy and were quite well done for the time. For some reason, I've always loved the line, I shall kill you now, but first I have other tasks to perform. I don't know why, but it just seems so quintessentially Who. The humans feel very bland, and honestly, I always forget that they're even in it. I also think the story is not quite developed enough. Maybe we could have seen more or other Sontarans than Steyer or the one he's communicating with. Overall, nice but slightly forgettable story and almost feels like a bit of a filler before Genesis. 6.5.
Yeah, fair enough.
Joseph Howarth. It's quite interesting how two-parters like this are very rare for Doctor Who back in the 70s, but it's common fare nowadays. Interesting thought, don't you think? Anyways, the Sontaran experiment, I thought it was a great story. Apart from the Revenge of the Cybermen, Tom Baker has a solid first season. The plot is very simple, but that's all you need, really, for a two-parter. Ian Marter and Liz Sladen give brilliant performances for Harry and Sarah, even if they don't do much. Steyer, I thought, was menacing and sadistic, though I do think the ending is a bit hastily done with the Marshal giving up so easily. The robot is pretty naff and looks like a washing machine with poles attached to it, and I really can't say much about the Galsec team because I really don't think they make much of an impact. Besides Roth, they are really interchangeable and there's no difference between them. Plus, they have dodgy South African accents. Other than that, it was a great story and always the marvellous Tom Baker, 8.5.
Yeah, I must agree with him about the end, actually. I did find it slightly unsatisfying because the Marshal does just go, oh, okay then, which, I would agree with that. Yeah,
we're going to stand fast and we're going to attack. And Tom's like, I don't think you will. All right then. Lastly on Facebook, Mark Mooney says, nice filler story before the main event of Genesis of the Daleks. Anything on the Geeks handbag page?
Yes. Bizarrely, I got one on Instagram this week, so I had to make a note because I knew I was going to forget to read it. So I haven't forgotten, and it's from Thomas Scott, who says, I think it's a fun episode to put on if you have an hour to kill. It keeps you interested, unlike some of the 6-part episodes where you find yourself looking at your phone. And the main cast are great overall. He gives this one a 6 out of 10 and says, keep up the good work. We shall certainly try. Thank you for that. Over on the Geeks Handbag Facebook, I had Patrick Sherwood, who says it's an okay episode. I don't mind it, but it's not one of his favourites, so he's going to give it 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Austin Slassor. Oh, he just simply said, sorry, he said, I have never seen the special value sticker. He's referring to the photo I put up, which is the DVD has got special value on it, which simply meant it doesn't have many extras, so the DVD is cheap. But yeah, I've still got the sticker on it. Finn Walsh says, hello guys, hope unlike last week I won't be late. No, you're in time. He says this is a proper underrated Doctor Who story. He's claimed before, but great. It's an easy watch and doesn't leave you bored. I absolutely love this hidden gem, and he's definitely giving it a 10 out of 10, he says.
Okay.
And finally, Mark Atkinson, who does the brilliant Proctor Who podcast, says a decent enough two-parter. All the location shoot works well for the very slight, in brackets, story. He's giving it a 7 out of 10. So thanks for your comments, guys.
Excellent.
Really good stuff.
Some reasonably high scores there. I thought we were going to see middle of the road 5s and 6s, because it is, however you want to label it, it is slightly filler in between these two great stories, but some decent scores. So
yeah, it's a fun watch. I just wish the ending, had been stronger. Whoever mentioned that before, that's one of the things I wanted to say in the review, but I forgot. But yeah, I just wish it had a slightly stronger ending, but it's certainly a good little watch.
Indeedy. Next week, we're going forward to the current Doctor. So what story are we going to look at next week?
Next week, 12th Doctor story, Time Heist from Series 8. We'll be reviewing. Yeah.
Yes. We've never spoken about this one, even in passing.
No, we haven't.
This will be interesting. This is the one with the monster in the prison overalls? The Teller, that's right. Yes.
Teller, yes. Yeah. I'm just looking. It was just one that got missed out. We never reviewed it.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether you reviewed it, but yeah. So it'll be interesting to do this one.
Yes. Time Heist next week.
Revisit it, yeah.
And I think we'll do there for 118.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sticking with us and listening through 118. 118. It's been an interesting time for class at the moment. We're not too apologetic that we're very negative and so on, because that's just our thoughts and that's just how we feel. But for those of you that are really enjoying class and are really into it, please don't let our negativity, spoil the party.
Yeah.
We don't want to be the moany old dad that comes downstairs and orders all of your friends out at 9 o'clock because it's getting too late. So, class. Hopefully next week though. Or no, this week. Yeah. Episode 7, is it? 6, 7?
Yes, it
7.
will be 7.
Which is mainly focused around Miss Quill. Looks like it could be the kicker that we need. Which is good.
Hope so.
Yep. So, the Sontaran Experiment. Some reasonable scores there. Thank you so much, as always, for sending in your thoughts and reviews. Next week is Time Heist with Mr. Capaldi. So look out for the Facebook post or the Twitter post or whatever to send us in your thoughts for that one. As always, head over to our website, www.bigblueboxpodcast.com. On there, you can listen to all of our previous episodes. Plus, you can link off to our social stuff, so you can follow and like on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. And there's also big buttons there to send you off to iTunes and so on, if you'd like to subscribe to the podcast. And if you do subscribe...
Love a big button.
A big button, yeah. And if you are an iTunes subscriber, if you could give us a rating or a review on there, that would be fab, because that helps us a lot. Thank you. Check out Adam's channel, The Geek's Handbag.
Yay!
Do a search for it on Facebook and YouTube. Some great videos from there, from Adam, sorry. Loads of unboxings, reviews, convention stuff. Excellent. It's all there. Go and check it out.
It's all there for you. Cheers.
Until next week, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember,
hey.